everybody, it is your Professor, Rocco you boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. In this AoS general class, we've been doing a lot of these, because I feel like this is a little more advanced than a 101 and not necessarily enough advanced for a master class. I want to talk about list building for the General's Handbook for the current season, the 2022-2023 Season 1, as a long name. So, without further ado, leave a like on the video, subscribe, and we're going to get right into it. So, now that I did the YouTube shilling stuff. What are the two new seasonal battalions? I am, again, you may say that I'm late on this topic. I say that now we've had enough tournaments, because generally, because it was June, July, August, we had 3 months of tournaments now, where we could talk about this and analyze the data. That's one of the things that I love doing, is being an analyst. And other people compile the data, and again, I'm going to shout them out later, but the Honest Wargamer and Rob and his stats team are fantastic. I love Ziggy. Some people are a little divided on Rob as a personality, but they put out great work. And they're a gift to the community. And again, I've been looking at a lot of lists and seeing all the stuff they have. And, I feel like I got a good idea of what's going on here. But first, let's break this down. In the new season, we moved to Gallet, like our other video talked about, where we talked about battle tactics. We introduced the concept of Galatian veterans, which, again, are infantry models that are, I think it was like 3 wounds, 4 wounds are under, 4 wounds are under, and they get this special keyword. This is one of the things that keyword keys off of in the new battalion Expert Conquerors, where they get to count as multiple models for the purpose of contesting objectives, and 3 bodies per 1 model, which is huge. There are tree revenants in Sylvaneth, right? They just teleport for free, and a unit of 5 of them all of a sudden counts as 15 bodies. You have to dedicate a serious amount of your army to screening them out and stopping them from being able to just pop onto an objective, get a charge, because there's ways for the Sylvaneth, either in a Sylvaneth army or in a Cities of Sigmar army, where they can get a lot of pluses to charge, Like, in a Sylvaneth army, you have an endless spell that can do it, and then you can ally in the Cities of Sigmar Gur Battle Mage, who can give another +2 to charge. And that's +5 right there. When you come out 9 inches away, need to roll a 4 on the dice. That's pretty doable. And Galatian veterans should be everywhere, and they kind of are. But then there's the foil to this. Whereas we have the Bounty Hunter Battalion, where again that's 2 to 3 units of troops as well, where if they make a melee weapon attack, so they got to stab somebody up close and do the dirty work, not shoot them with an arrow, but if you get up close with your sword or your mace or your axe to the face, you do an extra damage per swing to a Galatian veteran unit. So again, what does that mean? If I have a 1 damage sword and I'm in Bounty Hunters, and I bop a Galatian veteran on the head, I did 2 damage to them if they fail their save. And this, is very nice. And Games Workshop did this kind of with the monster theme last General's Handbook, where, again, we were introduced to monstrous actions, which are wonderful, and they're still here, and I love them. And they did all this work to make better monsters, have better bracketing tables. They did a lot of work behind the scenes. They gave great rules with the monstrous actions. And then they gave you a bonus point for killing one each battle round. And they make it fair so that if you don't have the thing, you're not fully penalized. And if someone overdoes the thing, you have an option here. And the cost is, you don't have a unified drop with these battalions. I'll just refresh the class what a unified drop is. One of the bonuses of having, like, the Battle Regiment battalion, the bonus is that everything that fits in there, when you're deploying, drops at the same time. And as we remember, Age of Sigmar, if you outdrop your opponent in deployment, you get to choose who goes first. You know? That's always like a sticking point with how Games Workshop words that in their rules, but that is the rule. And we are now seeing, because people want to take both these battalions and max them out, that's just 6 drops right there. And if you're not going to be doing the 1-drop thing, you might as well take a battalion for your heroes to get an extra artifact, right? The artifacts that have been coming out have been pretty good. And you usually have at least one good one you want for your army with your synergy, and then you can like make something a wizard with an arcane tome. You know? And honestly, these are nice. They're flavorful. They broke the 1-drop meta and threw it away. And again, for the state of the game here, recapping, people aren't taking a lot of 1-drop lists. And that's awesome, because now we're seeing list diversity in a lot of ways. And I'm sure eventually it's going to be, you know, a warlord and then one of each battalion and you're fine. But there's still lists that benefit from being low drops. If you can be a 3-drop or lower, like I've talked about my Deepkin army, where I am a 4-drop, where I have a bounty hunter battalion that I've maxed out in my units with 3, and then the rest is in a battle regiment. And what that does for me is I get to outdrop a lot of armies. And in my army, I've also built a lot of screens in case someone does have like a 1-drop, which is rare. But it allows me to make my opponent go first, they come up to me, and then with all my shooting and my movement, a double turn is very deadly, being a lower drop list. But you don't need to be a 1-drop, which is nice. This reminds me of, like, throughout 2nd edition, my Cities of Sigmar army, because the Cities of Sigmar book in 2nd edition, the battalions work differently, where we didn't have good ones for each city, and that was the rule at the time was, you know, it was always a unified drop if you were in there, if you wanted it to be. And so I spent, 3-4 years being a 10-drop army between my cities and my Stormcast, and I love it. So this is a meta that makes sense to me now that they've kind of brought that back. And again, I want to shout out the Honest Wargamer and their stats team. I'm not showing any of their stats up now. This is just from stuff that I've seen and watched, and I'm condensing down into a lesson for you. I will put a link in the description to their website and their Twitch stream, or their YouTube channel, probably all 3, to actually let you go and see for yourself what's going on in all the tournaments that they're keeping track of. And I also really want to talk about how, my third point there, you still need Galatian veterans. You need those galley vets. Whatever nickname and snappy title you want to give them, you need them, because there are plenty of battle tactics that you need them for. You know, a lot of tournaments are allowing you to use your battle tome, battle tactics with the General's Handbook ones. Not all of them will, so you need to cover your bases. And not every book's battle tactics are created equal. Some, that's almost like a hidden power buff if you have like 2 easily achievable ones. Like for my Deepkin, I'll say for myself here, we have a battle tactic where it's defend your faction terrain piece if a unit gets too close to it. That's an easy one, and that lets me, thanks to the Galatian veterans and the other things, it lets me do like save an eye for an eye, or save the capture scenery piece for later in the game when it's getting a little more, you know, antsy and it's getting closer, and I need to make sure I don't drop a battle tactic. But still, to cover your bases, you should still bring a unit or 2 of Galatian veterans. Also, if we remember from our other video, the one that just dropped, whoever goes second in a game, each battle round chooses an objective to be the proving ground, which can only be contested by Galatian veterans. So we've got multiple mechanics that honestly kind of balance each other out, where yes, you can kill Galatian veterans easy, but those units are known that can do it, and then they can just be killed and your Galatian vets run free. And for you, you can put your Galatian veterans in a battalion that lets them more easily capture objectives for you. And then if your opponent's trying to mess with you with this proving ground, you can be flexible and match where they are and not lose points. And also hordes are kind of coming back because a lot of, like, a unit of 30 skinks, they're Galatian veterans. 30 skinks equals 90 bodies if you put them in the Expert Conqueror's battalion. I mean, they might die quick, but there's ways to bring things back through magic, healing spells, rallying. All that's still there. So if you can control how your opponent uses their bounty hunters and, you know, be mindful of how you want to use your Galatian veterans in an Expert Conqueror's battalion, the state of the game is looking pretty freaking great right now, in all honesty. And let's go and show you what a list looks like that I like playing, that's fun. I don't know if I'd take it to a tournament, but it's fun, and it's a list that I use to help other people practice for tournaments because it's got a good amount of threats. Let's break it down. Hello there. So, I'm going to be talking about my Hallowed Knight, Scions of the Storm, Stormcast list that I like playing. We're a bit zoomed in here for the army summary. We are on War Scroll Builder, which I still like better than the Age of Sigmar app. I don't know. Maybe it's just the familiarity with this, but part of it is with the app, you could put the different like game modes of like Contest of Generals or whatever. And you could, like, sometimes what happens to me is I'll put the wrong thing in, and then it doesn't list the battalions for the battle pack I want to play, whereas War Scroll Builder is just straight up, here we are, right? So I am Stormcast Eternals, Hallowed Knights, Scions of the Storm, which means I can Deep Strike. My grand strategy is No Place for the Weak. My Triumph is inspired for +1 to wound. Sometimes I do like playing this as Stormkeep. Actually, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We are going to put it as Stormkeep. You're going to see this live. Because that is how often I flip-flop. I'm going to re-put in my General, who is a Master of Magic. It knows the spell Celestial Blades for +1 to wound because you'll be getting the Arcane Tome. It's my artifact. Then I've got Karazai, the Scarred, the big old murder dragon, melee type. I do like Krondys, but Karazai has just always done everything I've needed. And his special rule of as he kills different types of units, he gets a buff that stacks. I love it. Even if it doesn't stack, and I've been messing the rule up for the past few games. Because I will gladly read this out loud right now, because here we are doing it live. Fires of Vengeance. Each time this unit destroys an enemy unit, you can apply the relevant effects below its stacks. Let's go. Rocco, your boy, coming at you. Because if he kills a hero or monster, he gets attacks with his melee weapons. +1 to his attacks with his melee weapons. That's his claws, that's his bite, that's his tail. And he just has to kill somebody. It could be with his breath weapon. I've had games where I'm like 3 inches away from a unit I'm going to charge. I Hadouken, Kamehameha, Firebolt, Blast, whatever you want to say, a support hero that I left on a wound nearby in range. Knock him, dead. And then, because I've already killed stuff, one of his other things is add 1 to run and charge rolls. I can't fail the charge, and now I just gave myself extra attacks for everything going in. And because it stacks, he just gets so deadly. And his third rule is if he kills a unit that has a wound characteristic of 2 or less on each model, like Skinks, he heals a wound. And then I have a Knight Incanter who will be taking Lightning Blast because on a 5-up, doing D3 mortal wounds to the nearest enemy unit you can see is awesome. And then I've got a Rune Lord who isn't an ally in Stormkeep because Stormkeep allows you to take Cities of Sigmar units. 1 in every 4. They get the Hallowed Knight's keyword, I believe, but I never even pay attention to that because I'm never doing anything with my cities unit here. So here's the nice, easier to read version. So those are my heroes. I've got a bunch of them, 3 of them. The Castellan Gardas, who I love Gardas Steel Soul, Mr. Hallowed Knight himself, that gives me out of an aura of 5-up ward that helps keep Karazai. I keep calling him Kari in my games. I like nicknames. It's a problem. Big old dragon gets a 5-up ward in his aura. Also, the once per game rerolling charge aura off of Gardas, and the ability for heroes that charge him to get an extra attack on their melee weapons. These 2 are best friends. And also, Gardas' Fight on Death has saved me a lot of trouble. Where he fights on a 2-up. The Hallowed Knights, it's effectively battle line. With what I have as battle line, they're Redeemer units. It's like Sequitors, Sequitors, Vindicators. There we go. No, Vindictors. I was right. I'm crazy. Sequitors, Vindictors, Liberators, that kind of thing. The basic battle line. I'm probably sure there's 1 or 2 more, but I've already messed up this take, and I'm just not going to redo it. They get to fight on death on a 4-up, which is very nice. And then as you can see for my battle line, I've got 5 Sequitors and then 2 units of 5 Vindictors. The Sequitors have 3 Great Maces because 2 out of every 5 can take Great Maces, and then separately, the leader of the unit, the Prime, could choose either another Great Mace or Redemption Cache that stops enemy units from regenerating models to the unit. I always prefer the straight up damage because I don't have the Redemption Cache in my collection. And I converted Sequitur Prime to be really cool with a Great Mace, so I'm like, yeah, there we are. And then these 3 units are going to be in my Expert Conquerors. Now, you may be saying, Rocco, why are you even doing this? They're in Stormkeep. At the start of the thing, you start off as... So the other rule of Stormkeep, besides they have a bunch of small rules, is that they count as 3 models already, right? But only for 3 models on objectives, the battle line units. But it's only the models in your home territory. As we've discussed, a lot of the battle plans kind of have smaller territories. So if I want to flex these guys earlier up on objectives, I actually could use the battalion. And if not, there's a world where I put them in a 1-drop and I'm okay. But that's the thing too with this, is if I wanted to go Scions of the Storm, that is just an easy no-brainer. There they are. With this, it's a little bit of a thought. It's kind of a little redundancy because when you hit Battle Round 3, the Redeemers count as 3 on all objectives. And again, I just like doing it out of the gate. Now I've got a unit of 3 Evocators on Celestial Dracolions because they're my pet unit and I love them. And my Stormcaster actually painted up in the Lions of Sigmar color scheme where I need a unit of Lions. That makes sense. My Prime has a Grand Stave because I can also use him as a Lord Celestin on Dracoline if I ever wanted to. And then I love the Stormstrike Chariot. It has just done so much work for me every time I've used it. The mortal wounds have been great on the impact hits. The -1 to it being hit when it charges in is great. The damage is okay. The fact that it's on a 3-up save and it's very easily made a 2-up. Fantastic. I can't say more about it. I could, but I don't know, I will, because both of them are going to be in my Bounty Hunters battalion for the extra damage. And the Stormstrike Chariot is a pinning piece. Now, when I say a pinning piece in list building, for the newer viewers, it is a unit of mine that is like an anvil. Like, it is rock solid. It's got a bunch of wounds. I think it has like 12 wounds. Again, 3-up save. It is a unit that I send into an enemy unit to hold it there so it doesn't move. They have to fight my chariot or retreat out and waste combat if they don't have retreat in charge. I love it. It always does its job. It's on a big old base and it takes up a lot of space. And I use it as a forward screen. And for my regular play opponents that see this thing coming, and know what it could do, they're like, okay, Rocco has this here. Either I charge it and stop it from pinning me in my deployment zone, or I try to fight their other stuff that's going to kill me. It's a rough decision. Which, again, I'm doing that in my list building. I've got a very mobile screen, which is nice. My hammers in this list are Karazai, the Evocators. Honestly, the Stormstrike Chariot is great. And I need to go back and circle around to my Rune Lord, who's here. And you may be saying, why does he have prayer? Why is he even here? So, one of the heroic actions that you can do is give a non-wizard hero an Unbind. Or Dispel, whichever one it is to stop the other person from casting a spell. And the Rune Lord is a priest, which is why we have heal. The heal is there to help Karazai stay healthy. But he comes with an innate ability to have +2 to your Dispel and Unbinding rolls. And also because he's a priest, if someone has an endless prayer, he can try to mess with that too. And he's awesome for that. My man Ugni of Clan Weirdhammer. The Lord Castellan, again, has the rerolling one caster Dispel with the Master of Magic. Celestial Blades is +1 to wound for melee weapons, which goes on the dragon. The Evocators come with their own +1 to wound spell, which goes on themselves. The Lord Castellan also for free can give out +1 save to somebody. The Knight Encounter can do mortal wounds or give me a Mystic Shield. I can be very, very tanky all over the place. Sackwitters are great damage with the Great Maces. The Vindictors do mortal wounds. It's a very nice army. And if I wanted it to be, I could very easily be like a 4-drop? One. Yeah, I could be a 3-drop actually, because I have so many heroes that because I've got the 5 units to be in a battle regiment. I've got Karazai, and then I can take 2 other heroes. I could be as low as a 3-drop or a 4-drop with, if I just wanted to do the battle regiment and the command entourage. But I full sent it here, folks, and your boy is at 10 drops. 1975 points, so I'm playing for my triumph. But you also see here the additional enhancements. So what you can do in Stormcast, you get one of these, which is a holy command, a once per game command ability to use. I chose to use my command entourage bonus to get a second one that is different. The first one is Call for Aid. When one of these 3 of my battle line units dies, because again, they're my only screens with the chariot, I make a little box formation and send them out to die. When they die, for a command point, I can bring a brand new unit of 5 back. I hold it within 12 of one of my heroes, 9 inches away from enemy units, and they're just back. So I get an extra 130 points to my army because of that command ability. And I have so many freaking heroes. Someone's going to be alive to do that summoning. And they also count as Galatian veterans. They don't count for the expert conquerors again, I don't believe. But, again, at that point, I am Stormkeep. So if this is a late in the game thing, my normal buff of them counting as 3 models each comes back, and then they're still counting as 15 models. This allows me to play throughout the whole game with that in mind. The next thing is Steadfast March, which is one of my units gets to run in charge. Now again, the problem being that is a command, and then I can't auto-6 their run for another command because units can only take 1 command. But, big but here, that chariot is fast. The dragon starts off moving 14 inches. The chariot runs, I want to say, 12. Because I keep thinking it moves 10. And the Dracolions move 12. So any extra movement on any of those three things is fantastic. And the Dracolions and the chariot don't shoot, so I'm not missing out on any additional shooting. And again, it allows me to use the chariot to be a pinning piece. It allows the evocators to run down someone that redeployed away from the dragon. Where cool, they had a D6 to redeploy. Cool, I'm gonna call out my run and charge there, move the dragon first, and then they're gonna go off. Or I use them to go wide, and then the dragon follows up. It's a great combo. They're once per game, and I like them a lot. I have no need for a second artifact in this list. Maybe like a mirror shield. But I would give it, if I had a mirror shield in my list, it would have been on the Castellan. But I give the Arcane Tome instead. It would have to go on the Incanter because Gardas and Karazai are named characters, and as much as I like the Rune Lord, he's kind of there to get shot. Because the other thing is, I am very anti-magic with this list, because I have a once per game auto unbind with the Knight Incanter, and then the Rune Lord's giving me 2 other unbinds, and then I've got a rerollable unbind from the Castellan, so that's 4 unbinds a turn. One of them being on an automatic once per game thing, 2 of them being at +2, and then the last one is a rerollable. So I'm looking very good at anti-magic here. I've got the ward save that comes off of Gardas that can affect my whole army, but the Rune Lord, because he doesn't get the right keyword, and it's deceptively fast. And what ends up happening is one of my Vindictors or the Sequitors will die because they're my forward screens. And then the big old dragon will clear the way. And then one of my heroes will end up summoning in the Vindictors back in the big hole that the dragon tore. And then we just have ourselves a game. Again, will this win tournaments? Probably not. There's better ways to go about this. Like, if you really want to superpower your dragon, you could drop the chariot for a unit of Praetors to give the dragon an extra, 9 wounds. And then it just won't die. Or Gardas the wounds, too, and then just... You have options. But it's a melee list that doesn't have a lot of shooting. The only shooting attack is the dragon. Because the chariot, I take the loadout with the spear, not the bow. And it's really fun to play. It's really fun to play. 2 ways to get +1 to wound on melee weapons. The evocators can only do it to themselves or the sequitors because of a weird keyword thing. The Celestial Blade spell can affect anyone. And it puts out a lot of mortal wounds between the chariot, the evocators, the vindictors, the dragon, the spells. It's a great list. And it's, again, deceptively fast, very tanky because of the 5-up ward save. And, it's like, who do you kill? Because Gardas is only 150 points. He earns those points very easily. But if you waste time trying to kill him and I roll hot on the ward save, you've got a big old dragon. You try to kill the dragon, you leave Gardas and everyone else up to support it. It's a good time. And, it's how you can build an effective list that's like a bajillion drops. And I don't care if I go first or second with this list. Because I have screens in the Sequitors and the Vindictors and the Chariot. I could throw out my Rune Lord as a screen, too, to take up space. And the Knight Incanter can either be way in the back, doing lightning blasts, because it's the nearest enemy unit I can see, so it's effectively in limited range. Or he can be up front looking for his once per game auto unbind. And then the Rune Lord's in the back looking to pray to heal Karazai up before I full send him, you know? And then I take no place for the week because this list likes killing stuff. Karazai gets his tail attack is he gets attacks based on how many enemy models are within 3 inches of him. And that could be a lot in a horde meta. And then they're like -2 Ren 2 damage apiece, so he just mows everybody down. And then he gets to heal after because he killed a unit with 1 or 2 wounds as a wound characteristic. And then he gets, blend, repeat. This list, a version of this list has messed up an incarnate of Gur list that was nice. It's gone against Nighthaunt, Lumineth Realm Lords. Nighthaunt a lot. And it should be going against Ogres pretty soon too, if I remember my next game that I ended up playing. But yeah, good into the bajillion zombies too. But yeah, no, this is my list. This is fun. I've got other lists, but again, my job here is to help facilitate you so you know how you want to make a list and so you can have fun and then kick butt and take names in a tournament. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to class today. If you have any suggestions that you want us to cover here, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and as I like to say at the end of all of our videos, class dismissed. Bye.